Hey there, welcome back to the Barnabas robot arm. So this is the second video. In this video, what I want to do is focus a little bit more on the coding. I know that we said we would build the other part of the robot arm to get it to turn. We will eventually get to that, but I felt like it would be good for us to go over the exercises that I challenged you with in the first video and then give you some more tools to make your coding a lot easier in the future. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with that. So if you look at the screen, I have the code that I have from the end of the first video, and let's go ahead and go through those challenges. Okay, so just as a quick review, I have my servo library here, and then my servo object, which I named base motor. I attached pin number 6 to the base motor, and then I have it in a loop. I have a comment around it right now because I wanted to send blank code to it earlier, but now I want to make sure that this still works, so I took the comments off. And what it does is it moves the motor to 0 degrees, chills out for 1 second, goes to 180 degrees, chills out for another second, and then does it all over again in this forever loop. Okay, so let's just make sure that this still works. I'm going to upload. There we go. You can just look at the top right there. 0, 180. Cool. So that's still working. Great. Now, as it's going, let's look. We said I want to go 0 for challenge number 3 now, 90 and 180. So all I do is go 0. I still want to do the chilling out because I need to give it time to rest before I do the next move. Then 90. Again, chill out. Wait for it to get there. Then 180. Let's see. 0, 90, 180. Oh, and then back to 90 and then back to 0. So after 180, 90, and then back to 0. Oh. Okay. And again, remember I'm writing these, putting these delays in here because I need to give it time to go there. All right, and just as a refresher, if I don't have those delays, it's just going to go to 0, 90, 180 super fast. And so before it even gets from, let's say, 0 to 90, it's already going to be moving on to 180 and 90. So it's just kind of be going crazy. So we need to slow it down, put these delays. If you forget, it's just your code's not going to work as expected. And it's a common mistake, so make sure to always put the delay after the servo move. Okay, let's try this out. Okay. Okay, it's going. 0, 90, 180, 90, 0. Cool. And you notice that it stays at 0, which is pointing up this way a little bit longer. That's because if you look at our code, I go 0, 1000, so I chill out 1000, and then it goes back to the top here. And what do I have here? It says it goes to 0 again, but it's already at 0, so it's not going to move. And then another 1000. So that means that when it's facing up, pointing up, it's actually waiting there 1000 plus 1000, 2000 milliseconds, which is 2 seconds. Okay, that's why you see it ending up here longer than the other positions. Okay, not too bad. Now challenge 5 was go 0 to 45 to 90 to 130. So it's just adding the 45 in there. All right. So another way of saying is adding more resolution or more little stops in between our half circle. All right. So after 0, I'm going to put in 45. And then what does it say? 0, 45, 90 to 135. So after 90, 135. Then it says go to 180, which I have, and then go back to 135. Base motor dot right 135. Then back to 90, which I have, and then back to 45 down here. Cool. So I'm making it stop at 45-degree angles rather than 90-degree angles. Before it was 90 in the previous challenge. So now it's should give me a few more ticks in there. Let's upload. See, now it goes in between for looking at. Cool. Looking good. Now the last challenge here was to make it move as close as possible to 30 seconds on a clock. Okay, so 30 seconds is half a circle on an analog clock, and then each tick is 1 second. Okay, so how many ticks would I have? I think it's 30. So I need 30 ticks, right? I need 30 ticks, and then I also need to be at each tick for 1 second. So that's kind of like I thought through it, but before I do it, I'm actually going to show you a little tool here to kind of make our lives a little easier. So I'm going to disconnect our USB cable right here, so we have some nice and quiet as we talk about this. Okay, so I'm gonna actually do challenge number 5 again, but using a tool. Okay, well, actually no, I'm gonna do challenge number 4 again using a new tool, and then I'll do 5 and then 6. Okay, so I want to introduce to you something called a while loop. All right, so let me just go here. I'm just gonna comment this part out for now. /* star /. Okay, so right now it's just nothing is gonna run in here. It's just a note right now because it's comment. Okay, so I'm gonna put my code here. So I want to introduce a while loop. It goes like this: while parentheses, you put your open curly brace, and then the second curly brace down here, a closed curly brace is automatically generated. All right, so this is how it works. I'm gonna put a comment in here: while this thing is true, close comment, do this code. All right, so this is a comment just so for us to explain how this thing works. So while this thing is true, so whatever you put in here is going to be called a condition. Okay, it's like while whatever, it's a question. While this thing is true, so I could say like while the, I'm just going to make something up. Okay, so you know, while I'm pressing a button, I don't have a button right now, but just an example. So while I'm pressing a button, do this thing. I could write code in here to move the motor. Okay. Now I would actually have to put in real commands in there, but the idea is that just you could say put any question in here, which is called a conditional or a condition, and then you put the code that you wanted to do whenever that thing is true here. All right. So let's do this. What if I want to run this code 0, 90, and 180? So move in between there, but I don't want it to loop forever. I only want it to loop like 5 times. How do I do that? Well, let's first write our code in here. Okay, I'm just gonna copy this part because it's gonna look like this, a lot like that. So go 0, weight 1,000, 90, weight 1,000, 180, weight 1,000, 0, 90, and 180. Okay, and I'm going to add in the other ones where we go 0, 90, 180, and then we went back to 90, and then we go back to 0. Okay, I like that better. Okay, so I could do this. What if I did this while 1 equal 1? Okay, so I know that I want to only do it 5 times, but for now I'm just going to do what we call a forever loop, meaning just going to go forever. All right, so this is not, it's going to do more than 5 times, it's just going to go forever. But why? Okay, the question I have here is 1, does 1 equal 1? So equal means that you're asking a question, is it equal to it? So does 1 equal 1? True. Yes, it does. And when does 1 equal 1? Like all the time. So that means since 1 is equal to 1 all the time, it's just going to do this all the time. All right. So let's upload this to see if it in fact goes forever. Oh, I got to plug it in. Let me plug it in. Okay. This is my previous code. So hold on. Don't worry about that. Okay. Uploading. Okay, so it's doing the 0, 90, 180, 90, and 0, but going forever. Okay, so to prove to you I'm not lying to you, like what if I change it to this? 1 equal 0. What's going to happen? Is it going to run 1 time? Is it not going to run at all? Well, let's see. So okay, I'm going to upload. Okay, nothing. So it went to 90, and something I haven't mentioned before is that whenever you do this, base motor dot attach, so when you attach the pin to it, it will automatically just go to 90 degrees. So that's why it did do that, but it didn't do any of these moves because it should only do this stuff here while 1 equals 0. But does 1 equal 0? No, it never equals 0. Okay, so now you can put other things in there. You don't have to put equal. You can also say like this. You can say like less than. While 1 is less than 2, do this stuff. So what's going to happen? Is it going to run? Is it not going to run? Well, is 1 less than 2? Yes. And is it like always less than 2? Yes. 1's always less than 2, so this should also just run forever. Let's try. Okay, so it's doing the thing, and it's just going to keep going because 1 is always less than 2. Okay, and then we could do like, let's say we put this, is 2 less than 2? 2 is not less than 2. 2 is equal to 2. So this, if we do it like this, 2 less than 2, it's not going to run at all. There we go. See, it's not doing anything because 2 is not less than 2. Okay, so this is just an example of how the while loop works, but this is not very interesting, right? Because it's just kind of like, okay, whatever you put in here, if it's true or false, it's either always going to be true or it's always going to be false, right? We didn't, but what if we want it to change? Like, what if we want it to be true sometimes, but false other times? That's where we need a variable, okay? So check this out. I'm going to create a variable here, int. It's a type of variable. Don't need to worry about exactly what it is, but we're going to create an int variable, and it's going to be called counter. Okay, and then we have to say we're going to start set counter equal to 0. Okay, so we have a variable, it's a counter, his name is a counter, and the value is equal to 0. So what I like to do to explain what a variable is, if you haven't used it before, a variable to me, I like to call it, if you look at the bottom screen there, bottom right, it's like a box. Okay, this is my variable. The name of it is counter. Okay, so this is, which is a box. Okay, this is, check out counter. Okay, now what's the value of counter though? What's the value of it? Well, the value of counter is what's inside the box. Right now there's a bunch of stuff. Okay, so right now it's not 0. Okay, so my box or variable is, his name is counter. Okay, but the value is not 0. But if I dumped everything out, which I'll do here, for example, okay, if I dumped everything out, now check out my variable. Okay, my variable is still counter, but what's the value? It is now 0. Okay, and then maybe if I add one thing, like a screwdriver inside of it, I have my variable named counter, but what's the value? It's not 0, but 1, because there's one thing in there. All right, so that's an idea of what a variable is, and it's super useful in our code because it helps us, when we're using the while loop, it helps us make things true and then not true sometimes. All right, so we have our counter, we start it, and we say it's equal to 0. Now, what if we want to change counter? Well, we can say like something like this. We just say like counter equals whatever we want. Let's just say 1 here. Okay. So it starts out at 0, but then we change the value of counter. We set it to equal to 1. So we can say like something like this. Instead of putting 2 less than 2, we can say while counter is less than 2. Okay, so it's a little bit different than before. It's kind of getting more interesting, but still not going to be exactly what we want, but it's kind of getting there. Okay, so we know counter is our variable, starts at 0, and then we set it to 1. So at line 28, counter is equal to 1. And then while we're on line number 30, we say while counter is less than 2, but what is counter's value right now? It's equal to 1 because we set it to 1 on line 28. So basically this line 30 is the same as saying is 1 less than 2. Is 1 less than 2? Yes. And 1 is less than 2 all the time. And after inside here, counter doesn't change anymore. So counter is always going to be 1 inside this little loop here. Inside this while loop here. Counter is always going to be equal to 1 because we don't change it again. I think it's going to run forever because 1 is always less than 2. Let's just make sure. So it's still not that interesting, but it's getting a little bit more interesting. We're starting to get to where we want to go. Okay? So counter, again, counter is always 1 right now. And 1 is always less than 2. Sorry, counter is not always 1. Counter starts at 0. Then we make it equal to 1. And then inside the while loop, counter is always equal to 1. Okay, so now to make it a little bit more interesting, what we can do is we want to change counter inside of the while loop, inside here. So what if I did something like this? Counter equals counter plus 1. Oh, some math. So that's the cool thing about variables. You can do math with variables. So what I'm saying now is that while I'm in this loop, I'm going to do this code here. And then when I'm done with that, I'm going to say whatever counter is, I want to set it equal to counter, which is itself plus 1. Okay, all right, check this out. So I started counter equal 1, then I go to line 30, and then I ask, is counter less than 2? Well, counter is 1 at that point, so is 1 less than 2? Yes. So then I'm going to do this code. And then here's the key point. On line 49, I say counter then equals whatever counter is, which is 1 right now, 1 plus 1. So that's the same as saying I want to set counter equal to 2. Then it's going to jump back here and go to line 30. And then it's going to say, is 2 less than 2? Aha. No, it's not. Because counter is different now. 2 is not less than 2. So then it will not do this code in here. Okay? So how many times is this code, the motor, this stuff going to run? So it should just run 1 time. Okay, here's my 1 time. Not working. What did I do here? Counter. Counter. Interesting. Let's upload again. Did I do something wrong here? This is interesting. We get to check out this bug together. Oh. I know what's going on here. Okay, so this is a forever loop here, right? Again, I love this stuff because I messed up. So this is, well, kind of. Not totally, but kind of. I forgot about something. So this is a forever loop right here, right? So we run this code, and it should only, we talked about, it should only run once, right? So then when we're done with this, it's going to say counter becomes 2 at some point. It says, is 2 less than 2? And it says no. So then it's just going to jump down to line 52, which is like nothingness down there, right? And then it's going to go back to line 26 again, to my big loop on the outside. So that's why it just keeps going. So what I'm going to do is add this. But after all that code, I'm going to say while 1 equals 1, do nothing. Okay, so what this is going to do is that it's going to do this code here that I want to do, and then once it jumps out of there, it's going to go to line 53, and this is called a forever loop. It's just going to be stuck here because 1 is always equals to 1, and it's going to do nothing forever. Okay, so that way we prevent it from jumping back to here to keep going, okay, because we want it to stop eventually. Okay, love it. I love these little surprises that we can debug together. It's called debugging, figuring out what's going. Okay, and then stop. There you go. So that was my issue. I forgot about that. We're actually in a big loop that keeps running forever. Okay, so what if I want it to do it twice? Because right now it just does my little thing once, but I want it to go twice. How do I update that? Okay, well, what if I just get rid of this? All right. if I do get rid of that, it's going to say counter is equal to 0. Then it starts at 0, okay? And it says, while is 0 less than 2? Yes. It's going to run this code. Then counter becomes 1. Then it's going to jump back up here. Is 1 less than 2? Yes. Then it's going to run this code. And then it's going to say set counter to 2. And then at that point, is 2 less than 2? No. So it's going to jump out of there, go to line 51, get stuck forever. All right. So if I set it to 0, then it's just going to run it twice. Okay, let's upload. Let's go. Okay, once, twice. Cool. I did it. All right, so what if I wanted to go 5 times? So now to my challenge, like what if I wanted to do this cycle of moves, but 5 times? Well, this is like encoding. This is one of those opportunities where you can just look at patterns, okay? So when I changed this, got rid of that counter equals 0, or sorry, I got rid of the counter equal 1 line. And with this code, it runs twice, right? And I see a 2 here. So that kind of gives me a clue. Okay, so if I want it to run twice, I put a 2 there. So maybe if I say less than 5, that'll be 5 times. And you just kind of try it out. You can think about it a little bit too. The counter is going to start at 0, then go to 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And you look up at the number of fingers. That's 5 times. Okay, so you can kind of get a feel of it, look for patterns, but let's try it to see if it works. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yep, this should be the last time. Perfect. All right, so we're looking good. I'm gonna push some more challenges here. So you want to move between 0 and 90 and 0. So 0, 90, 180, 90 to 0, 5 times. Okay, so you could just copy the code that we did together. That's going to help you move it 5 times. It's just like a simple thing. I'm not going to show you here. Do challenge 7, but times 10. So what would you want to? What would you change to make it move through those positions 10 times? Okay, I showed you how to go from 2 to 5. You should be able to go from 5 to 10. Just kind of follow the pattern. Okay. All right, so now let's go like another level. Now the counter here helps me with how many times I want to do the loop, do the code. Now, what if I also put another variable? Here's the thing, I can blow your mind. You can actually have as many variables as you want. I'm gonna make another variable called int. I'm gonna call it angle, and I'm also gonna set it to 0. So instead of putting a number here like 0, 90, 180, I can instead put a variable that I call angle. Okay. And what I'm gonna do for now, okay, I'm just gonna get rid of the counter. So instead of counting the number of times, I'm gonna do something with the angle, okay? So instead, I'm not gonna use the counter anymore. Okay. And let's put angle here. And I'm going to delete this. So I know there's a lot going on. Don't worry. I'm going to explain. my code's gonna get super simple. Okay, I'm gonna say while angle is less than or equal to 180. Okay, now you're like, what? Okay. So my condition now is something with angle, right? So now angle will be changing. My variable angle will be changing. So it's going to start at 0. And so it's going to go, the first time through my while loop, is going to move to angle 0. So that's cool. It's going to delay 1000. That's fine, just like before. But then before I go back to line 33, I'm going to change angle. Angle equals angle plus 90. Okay, so what's going on here? I'm adding 90 to the angle. So the second time that it goes through this, it's going to say, well, is 90 less than or equal to 180? Yes, it is. So go ahead and do this. But then it's going to change angle to 180 because angle is 90 at this point. So 90 plus 90 is 180. And then it's going to go back to 33, line 33 here. And then it's going to say, is 180 less than or equal to 180? Why, yes, it is. Okay. So then it's going to move it one more time, delay. And then it's going to say, it's going to add 90 to 180, which is going to make our while loop false because that's going to be 270. Is 270 less than or equal to 180? No. So it's going to jump out and then get stuck in my while loop. All right, let's try it out. So it should just go from 0 to 90 to 180. 0. What was that? Let's try again. Okay. Okay. Great. Okay, so looking good. Now what if I wanted to, I go 0, 90, 180, but then I want it to go back too. How do I do that? So after that, I can put another while loop. While angle is greater than equal to 0. Okay, so after I get to here, I'm going to do the angle again. Delay 1000. Okay, but what do I put for, how am I going to change the angle? So when I get to this point, I want to say, so after I finish all this while loop, I end up here, right? So I'm at 180. So at this point, I want to say, let's say angle equals 180 now. Okay. Angle equals 180. And then it's going to go to 180. Or maybe I'm already at 180, so let's just make it 90 then. Okay. So that once I get there, it's going to go to, it's going to say go to 90. And then once I finish this, I'm going to say angle equal angle minus 90. Okay. Let's try this out. Looking good. So you can add 90, you can minus 90, you can times 90, divide 90, you know, whatever math operator you want. Cool. So I just wrote some code to make it go between 0 and 180 in 90-degree increments. They're called because each angle I move is 90. That's why I have plus 90 and minus 90. But I use the while loop. So this maybe to you looks a little bit complicated, but and honestly, I think it does look a little bit complicated. You have math in here now. You have variables. Okay, but here's the thing. You see how we had to write this for 45 degrees, right? We have to, if we wanted to do 45-degree increments, we had to, add all this code, right? Because we have these while loops set up, to move 45 increments, it's going to be super easy. Okay, check this out. And I'll put some comments in here. So this is going to be move from 0 to 180. And then this is going to be move from 180 to 0. Okay. Now, kind of just to make my code a little bit more symmetrical, I'm gonna just move this, change this to 180. Okay. I know, like, what's gonna change now. What's gonna happen is that when it gets to 180, it's gonna do the 180 move again, but it's already at 180, so it's just gonna pause there an extra second. Okay, which is okay. But I just realized if I make it more symmetrical, it's going to be easier to explain. Okay, so 180, and it's going to like pause there, then back. Okay. Cool. So 180 to 0 is this part. Now check this out. Instead of 90, I want to go 45-degree increments. Just change the 90 to 45. That's it. Now it's going to go 45-degree increments because we're using this variable and this while loop. I think. Let's try. Look at that. Boom. How fast did it take to go from 45-degree increments? Oh, sorry, from 90 to 45. Let's just like run it again because I'm excited. Cool. All right, now let's see. What if I want it to run in 10-degree, just for fun? So in the past, we would have to go like 0 to 10 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50 to 60 to 70. Oops. To 80 and so forth. I don't even have enough of these base motor dot writes. I have to add more and more and more and more. That's gonna take too long. That's why I like this while loop thing. So by 10, I just do plus 10 and minus 10. Boom. Check it out. Moving in 10-degree increments. And now and then once it gets to the end, you hang out for a little bit and then come back. So you might be thinking, and you might kind of like me, you're like, okay, this is kind of looking like a clock now, right? Because I said challenge number 6. So now you can see why I wanted to show you all this stuff, because I can do challenge number 6 not like super easily. All right, so I'm going to challenge number 9 is going to be do challenge number 4 and number 5, but with while loops. Okay? Now, how about this number 6 thing? 30 seconds. Okay. So what I have to do here is that I need to move this I'm going to call it clock hand now, just like the second hand of a clock. Okay, but I'm only going to move half a circle, and we know that there are 30 ticks. There are 30-second ticks on the that side of the clock. Okay, so that means I need to take, but how many degrees is it from here all the way to here? It's 180. Okay, so how do I know how much of an angle do I need to move? What's my increment? Well, then I just take 180 degrees, divided it by 30, and that will give me the increment that I need to move. So you should be able to do that in your head. You know, maybe you could do it in your head. 180 divided by 30. Oh, you can't see. Should be easy. Number 6. Okay. Just do the calculator, just so you know, we make sure you don't make any mistakes, but just do like an 18 times 3, right? You kind of know that. So it's, or 18 divided by 3 is 6. So check it out. All I gotta do is plus 6 and minus 6, and then I'll have that last challenge. And then I want to delay 1 second between each tick, right? Because it's gonna move 6 degrees, 1 second, 6 degrees, 1 second, 6 degrees, 1 second. By the time I get to the end, it should be about 30 seconds. So let's just like watch this. So 6 degrees, let's do it. Pretty cool. And then we're just gonna sit here, literally, for 30 seconds. Listen to the clock. You have like your own little timer now. Your little 30-second timer. Should get almost there. If you got out, and you can try it out. Like get like a, you know, your phone or something, and see how close it is to 30. It should be pretty close, if not exactly there. And now it's going back as well. Okay, cool. So then now we can do challenge number 6, but with a while loop. All right, so now that I've given you all the answers, kind of explained and also showed you the while loop, let's do like a challenge, I would say, just to kind of put everything together. Okay. So challenge number 11 is going to be actually like a question. Okay. How many seconds will it take if we increment by 1? No, I'm gonna, yeah, by 2 degrees. So what I mean is, like, if we put 2 here and 2 here for my increment, before you do it, how many seconds will it take to go all the way down? So I want you to think about it, do a little math, and then try it out and see. Confirm. Okay? So like thinking, and also a coding one. And then let's do the same thing. But increment by 1 degrees. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. Then I want, what if we do can you do challenge I'll just say this. Why don't we move between 0 and 180 maybe this one. Okay, move between 190, 180, 90, and back to 1. So not 0, but move between, starting with 190, 180, 90, and then 1, using a while loop and using this. Your condition. So this is your condition right here. Okay, I'm gonna give you, sorry, not there, this. So when you change your angle, use angle times two. I'm sorry, I'm trying to think of this right now, and is that even, so that's not exactly what we need, but let's do this then. Excuse me, I'm thinking of this as I'm videotaping this, so that's why we have to adjust here and there. I'm going to say move between 1 and 180 and make sure to use this statement in your while loop. So when I say this statement, it's this right here. Angle equals angle times 2. So this needs to be somewhere in your code, okay? So you see how down here we use the angle just plus, and then we also use minus. I just want you to play with the fact that you can also use times. All right? So can you make it move between 1 and 180? How's it gonna look? How many times will it move before it stops? Those are things to kind of think about and try. Okay, I'll leave it at that for now. If you have any questions or you want additional challenges, let me know. Hope that's interesting to you. So once we're good with this, we're gonna be super comfortable with moving around. And again, the reason we want to learn about while loops, again, it's like kind of weird at first, seems more complicated, but once we do that, we can move in between angles like super easy, right? Because if we didn't have the while loops, we'd have to have so many lines of base motor dot right angle, base motor dot right commands. But because of the while loop, it simplifies our life. All right, that's it for now. Have fun, and I will see you next time.